Welcome back on the podcast, Dan.
Thanks, how come? It's good to be back, man.
It's very good to see you again. And I think maybe a lot have happened in your life as well since last time we talked.
Yeah, there's been loads going on, man.
Yeah,
I couldn't, yeah, crazy. I can't even put it into a sentence. It's too much to package in a few words.
yeah, yeah. My sense is that from your YouTube channel, last time you talked a lot about like masculinity and grounding, and I can see that you have lately talked more about relationships and how men and women are relating to each other.
Yeah,
So that might be one of the topics to explore in this conversation.
yeah, I'd love to, man. Yeah, definitely.
So can you tell us a little bit about your insights from last time in regarding to this topic?
Well, men and women are very different. And that's a taboo thing to say, right? That
Nowadays, yeah.
I'll start with something that would cause offense to people is this idea that men and women are different because we're being made to think that we're the same. But we're built very differently. Now, we have a lot of similarities, but there's a lot of differences. And the deeper I go into spirituality and the understanding of energy and our bodies, really, we can see that there's very clear differences between man and woman. It seems like there's a war at play on our polarity. And it seems that in that we're losing our power, and in that we're being divided. So rather than being co-creators, which I believe we can be, men and women, if we come together and work together, we can become co-creators of this reality.
Mm.
And we can also have deep spiritual realizations and awakenings when we come together in intimacy with polarity and presence.
Mm.
But there's a lot going on right now that's taking us out of our presence. It's taken us out of our natural polarity, and therefore we we miss our gifts that we have for each other.
Mm.
And this isn't about men being better than women or women being better than men. This has nothing to do with that. It's just simply coming together with our gifts and understanding that we're equal but polar opposites.
Mm.
An analogy could be the river and the riverbank. So the riverbank is the masculine. The riverbank is kind of, it's not, we don't visit a river and admire the riverbank. I mean, it is a nice part of the river for sure. But the riverbank, the role of the riverbank is to contain the water. So it's solid. It's like earth. It doesn't really change. It remains as it is. It contains the water. Now the water element of the river, it needs the riverbank as much as the riverbank needs the river. So they're working together. And the riverbank is like the masculine because it holds the feminine. Now the feminine energy is like in constant motion and it's changing. The masculine is still remains as it is. It's consciousness, right? But it doesn't shift. But the feminine, the water is shifting, which is why when we look at a river, it can be very calm and very beautiful and peaceful, but it can also be very ferocious and dangerous. And that's essentially what feminine energy is. Now, for when we apply that to men and women, I mean, we can say that we have an inner masculine and an inner feminine. I mean, we do. I believe we do. So, from an embodied perspective, if you were to put your awareness into your back right now, so as you sit there and you allow your felt sense awareness to occupy your back as best you can, maybe the backs of your arms, Maybe you can feel down the sides of your legs, the outside of your legs as you feel into the ground. You'll find that there's a kind of frame that you can inhabit. And if a man or a woman spends long enough bringing their energy or their awareness into that part of their body, there's a sense of grounding. There's a sense of having a frame. Now, there's not a lot of feeling in that in terms of emotion. It's kind of a structure, a bit like the riverbank. Or you could say a bit like a picture frame. Picture frame is like the masculine. People don't visit an art gallery to look at the frames, but it's still a very necessary part of the picture. Now, within the picture frame is the art, it's the beauty. Similar to we sit on the river bank to admire the river, and we visit an art gallery to admire the art. That's what was what wakens us up inside, is to admire that and to see that. So within you, within me, within all of us, as well as the masculine frame, is also the feminine part of us, and that can be experienced down the front of our bodies. So if you were to bring some awareness to the front of your body, so you could feel into your throat, you can feel into your heart, you can feel into your belly, and relax down the front, you'll start naturally accessing more feelings, more emotions, right? And this is our inner feminine. Like the river, it's always moving. Like our emotions, I mean, it's in the word emotion, E, energy, motion. And that's our inner feminine. And from here we connect. So the more we can access our feelings as we talk, the more connection we can create.
Mm. Mm.
And that's
So yeah. So how do you because you have worked with men for quite a long time now in the UK. So how do you see this manifest like in the practical life of men who struggle in relationships to women?
so most men will hide their masculinity from women because we've learned that it's a threat. I see it in myself still. I see it in almost all men. And we lose that structure, that solidness. Essentially, it's our power. And we disempower ourselves when we're around women because we don't want to threaten them. We don't want them to feel uncomfortable. So it's not coming from a bad place.
Mm.
But essentially, we come out of our masculinity and into a place of little boy energy, or our kind of unhealed feminine energy, in order to try and connect with her. And I think this is what it all comes down to, right? Is how do we go about getting connection from women?
Mm.
Like I
So
really feel this is at the core.
so how do you think this has developed in our societies, in like the Western modern societies? Because if you go to other places in the world, like maybe further south in Europe, Russia, South America, men are like way more traditionally masculine.
Yeah,
So what are your thoughts about how this have, like the culture has shaped this kind of masculinity?
good question. Well, I don't see it as being black and white. So if people were to hear our conversation now, they might think, well, we don't want it to be like it is in, say, some places in Russia, let's say, where the man is very dominant and maybe isn't very loving towards the women and can
Mm.
manhandle her and not treat her well. But it's not black or white. It's the same
Mm.
with politics. People think if you're not on their right, don't have their right wing views, then you must be left wing. It's
Mm.
it's
Yeah,
complete crap. It's
yeah,
not
that's
about
the
that.
interesting topic, by the way. Yeah.
Yeah,
Mm.
and so because that's how things were in the past, and we're shifting from that, people are afraid that if we go back to, if we have a more men taking the masculine role, women taking the feminine role, that goes back to women being abused. But there's a key difference here, is that in a lot of cultures, men are have carried trauma in their hearts, so they can't open their hearts, and so they have to control women and they have to dominate them. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely.
So
Because it comes from a place of fear and yeah, fear basically.
yeah, so if you can imagine, for thousands of years, the man would create, where he would go and build a house. Essentially, that was the man's job, right? So in building the house, or in building whatever structure that contained the family, it was kind of the man's job, and the woman's job was to go in and fill it with her love, and to make it look nice, essentially. So the man would go out and build the structure, and then he would stand guard and create the safety, because there's a lot of dangerous men out there and a lot of dangerous animals, and the man was physically strong. So you could say that the man, that I've heard this idea that the men rule the physical plane, because we're builders. Everything you see, most of what you see, is built by men. We're builders, we're creators, we kind of rule the physical plane because we're stronger and we're bigger. So we provide the safety, we provide the structure, we provide the containment. Now, for the woman to go in and feel safe, to open her heart and to love the family, love the children, to literally bring love into the house, which is what we all need, she has to feel safe. If she's in her head worried about the dangerous animals or the neighboring men who might come and try and take her or the kids, because the man that she's chosen isn't providing the protection, she's going to be up in her head. She's not going to be able to transmit unconditional love through her eyes by being in her heart and loving on the kids. So the kids grow up with this functional connection to the feminine because they didn't get that unconditional love. These kids, especially the boys, will start to have ways in which they try and get connection from mum, which could be manipulation, it could be control, it could be overacting, it could be whatever it is they need to do to try and get love from mum, because that's what they
Yeah,
needed. That's what we all
being
need.
yeah, being a good boy, a nice
Yes,
guy.
being
Yeah,
the nice guy, but also being the
yeah,
bad boy as well. So they're both expressions of fight or flight. Nice
mm,
guy is flight, the bad boy is fight. It's all
mm,
coming from fear.
mm,
So the man's job was to provide the safety for her to fill it with her love, right? To fill the house. And it kind of makes sense. Like, a woman will make a room look pretty way more than I could. Like, if you look at my room, it's really dull and lifeless.
and look
Like,
at my room.
yes, it's the same thing. It's practical, right? We're practical creatures.
Yeah, yeah.
Now, in modern day world, obviously, the man isn't standing guard stopping men coming into the house, because we don't really live in most places. We don't have that. We don't have to worry about that.
Mm.
But most mothers are caught up in their head, and I mean, for a start, they're working hard. If let's say if say the man is um, struggling to bring money in, so they don't know whether the bills can get paid,
Mm.
or if he's down the pub drinking because he's got addictions, because he didn't get the love he needed when he was a child, so he's got nervous system issues that mean he's not a safe man.
Mm.
If he's cheating on her because that's his way of getting back at the feminine, is to cheat and
Mm.
to, do these things that aren't really in alignment with love, that's going to put the mother in her head. Now the mother can't really give the unconditional love to the children, and now the family unit's kind of being ruptured from within, and the children, these boys, grow up into men that repeat these behaviors with women, and now the village is in disharmony. So it's always been known that the men and women are working together to make the community, to make the village a harmonious one. I heard about reports. I read an article about the Maori warriors in New Zealand after battle. The men would get together and they would go into the grief for the lost friends and all the horrible things that they witnessed in war. But by going into the grief, they would open their hearts again, and then they can go back to the village and love the children and women. But after our recent war, all the men that came back, there's so much shame in society around expressing emotion that all of that trauma got contained within the nervous system and just gets passed on through to the generations, where true love can't be expressed within the family home. And then this is why the world is the way it is. It's all coming from trauma.
That's like true wisdom to understand that you need to grieve your losses
Yeah,
and not like just hold it in the body.
yeah,
Because I really think that grief is like so many people carry around grief,
for sure.
like lost relationships, lost
Yeah,
friends, lost jobs, lost chances, lost health, maybe poor decisions.
yeah.
So I think to be aware the necessity to really grieve and how healing that is, that I think
Mm,
that's a very wise insight.
definitely, man. Yeah, I agree with you. And for men, it doesn't need to be like crying. I get it, like, seems uncomfortable, like going, crying in front of friends or whatever. It's not really necessarily about that, although that is a great thing to be able to do because our bodies were designed to grieve. That action is actually clearing out a trauma. We're if
Yeah,
you look at
totally.
the origins of the word emotion, the Latin word, it means to move out. So
Mhm.
the grief moves it out. But also, when we look at like tribes, they're around the fire, stamping their feet, shouting. We're
Yeah,
all contained. Our expressions are contained, and so we carry around so much backed up shit that causes
yeah.
disease. It prevents connection. Yeah, it's causing a lot of disharmony.
Yeah, and I think that's like generally in our culture as well, because we are so focused on the intellectual in the head.
Yeah.
So, and we are maybe a little bit afraid to just release emotions, and we don't have really spaces to do it either.
No.
Like in more traditional societies, like where people can dance and cry, and ceremonies, healing
Mm,
ceremonies, stuff like that, where the focus is not on the intellectual, but it's like on the processing of emotion.
yeah.
That
Yeah.
I think would be something very beneficial in our like you are doing the breathwork
Mm,
workshops, for example.
yeah.
Do you get participants that have like strong emotional catharsis in the breathwork sessions?
Yeah, definitely. It varies. It's mostly from the men, I would say. Men can
Yeah,
get quite loud and shouty.
yeah.
I think women are probably a bit more used to being emotional and loud.
I have I have been on several breathwork workshops and also been doing breathwork for other people, and I have several times experienced like grown men just sobbing,
Mm,
really connecting with like childhood wounds and just
mm,
releasing those emotions, and that's of course it's so beneficial.
definitely, man. Like, if the conditions are right, I'd always cry on breathwork.
Yeah,
Yeah, sometimes for a long time. I had it once where I just continued after the breathwork for like 20 minutes. I was just lying there crying, stop even without the breathwork happening. There's just so much coming out of me. Just
yeah,
couldn't stop it. I didn't want to
yeah,
stop it. It felt too good.
yeah,
It
yeah,
just felt amazing.
yeah.
But
But
just
yeah,
if I take a
mm,
few steps back again, because I think this is important. So going back to like what's happening at the home. So I believe that women's power is in their connection with their hearts. So it's their love that nourishes the children. that allows them to grow up without attachment wounds so the village can be healthy.
Mm.
It's the love that the mother has for the husband that allows him to go out and step into danger and in today's world more like go and create a business and bring in more provisions in order to create a safer home.
Mm.
And then the man and the woman are kind of working in there's like a symbiotic relationship going on. So when I said the men rule the physical because of our physical strength, the women rule the spiritual. They're connected to the divine and spirit through the hearts. And we don't have that so much, but women do naturally. But in order for her to have that connection to the spirit, or we could say connection to her intuition, which is kind of what guides us, she needs to have that safety. And this love also gets expressed through the cooking, through there's like an energetic transmission of love into the food, and then we eat the food. And I can
Mm.
see how women see them being the cook, cooking at home as being a bit sexist, and that's not what women are about. And I can see how that's created a like a disruption in the home because women aren't doing that quite so much now because they think it's weak. They think they're being weak by doing that. Does that make
Mm.
sense?
Yeah, I think like a lot of modern, also in what is this called in English? Hermetegn in Norwegian.
The what?
This when you do like this in English, what is it called?
In commas.
Yeah,
Yeah,
commerce.
yeah, 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 yeah.
Yeah, I think like the modern women, also their objection would be like if you go back to like the 50s and 60s, at least here in Norway, women were like fighting for economic freedom to not be
Yeah,
like under the domination or authority of the man.
yeah,
And there is like so much frustration and anger, like like in the feminist, extreme feminist movements and stuff like that. So I think like modern women would like maybe object on those grounds that they don't want back. They don't want to go
sure.
back to that role. But I think what you are talking about here is like more an evolution forwards.
Yeah,
But I do think like women have fought a, a lot to like get out of those like restrictive frames of the
yeah,
50s, 60s yeah, homemaker
definitely.
role, yeah. But yeah, so how do you like think this is like in moving forward? How do you think this is possible to manage on a practical level? Like because so many women want to be out of course in the workforce, earn their own money and stuff like that. So how do you see this like practically?
Well, I definitely don't have any problem with women going out and working for sure. Like I know how it can be easy to take what I'm saying and uh yeah. Mm, okay, where am I going?
I'm playing a bit devil's advocate, I don't know, just to get like that
No, 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 no,
perspective
it's good.
because I know so many like modern women that like are so opposed to those like traditional roles.
Yeah,
And there's like also a trend in society now where a lot of women want to go back to like this trad wife role because
yeah,
many think that this has gone way too far with like the
sure.
mixing of the roles.
Yeah,
So like how do you think this is like practically like economically
yeah.
like economically safety for the women versus like if men are out and earning the money and the women are like living under his economic support, those stuff like that.
So I get like this image of a triangle. So on the let's say the bottom right of the triangle is the nice guy, and on the bottom left of the triangle is the controlling man, the domineering man. So we've gone like from the domineering man, so the man that's oppressing women, to the man that's being very pleasing with women. And women don't want to go back to the way it was, which I understand because it's not healthy. But we're missing going up to the top of the triangle, which is the man who is um, what I would consider a more integrated, healthy masculine man who
Mm.
has the unity of heart and spine, as David Deida would call it, in the way of the superior man. So he has a backbone. He has a backbone a bit like the old guys, the men in the 50s. They wouldn't take shit from people or from women. Okay. When I say they wouldn't take shit, like they'll have strong boundaries. But because of this connection to their hearts, a lot of them couldn't really love women in the way that women needed because they didn't get the love from their mums because their mums are traumatized from their dads and from all the wars and everything. So the men couldn't really be loving towards the women. Which is why they had to control them. Control came from their inability to open their heart, so the control was done as a means to try and keep her and get connection. And then you got the nice guy who is more loving and more feminine in his expression of love, but maybe isn't so good at asserting his boundaries and having a backbone.
Yeah, and that's not attractive for
No,
women at all.
no,
Like the pushover guy.
yeah, yeah, totally. And
Yeah.
but it's safer, so it's better for a lot of women who have been hurt by men. It's better to have a man who's in his feminine. Then she can finally feel a little safe
Mm.
because of that. But
Mm.
it doesn't mean that then she can finally feel feminine again, because
Mm.
most women are in their masculine because they don't get safety from the nice guy.
Mm.
He doesn't have the frequency of the masculine energy that women need in order to feel in their feminine and to open their hearts. He doesn't do it, nor does the controlling man. Why? Because they're both an expression of fight or flight. It's all coming from the nervous system. The man's in fight or flight, controlling or pleasing. He provides no safety for the woman. He's not in his masculine energy.
Mm.
Now, in order for a woman to be powerful, she needs to have connection to her heart. That's what I strongly believe. If we could bring this all down to something very basic. Men's gift to women is their presence. Women's gift to men and to the world is their love. But I don't see anywhere women being celebrated for their love. I just don't see it. All I see is them being celebrated for what they can do in the man's world, for going out and building and creating and competing with men, essentially.
Mm.
I'm not saying it's bad. It's great that women are doing that. But why is it that almost everything I see, I only ever see women celebrate for that? I don't see them celebrated for the love, and the love of a woman is such a beautiful thing. Like if we're to get real, what is it all of us men really crave from a woman? We could say like, ah, nice legs, all that bullshit, and yeah, that's good. Nothing wrong with that. But truly, I feel like the more healthy we get as men, the more trauma that we heal, the more we start seeking love from the woman,
Yeah.
and it
Yeah.
becomes less ego, less so other men can see us with a hot woman, less about
Mm.
what she has on the outside. And as we start going within and clearing out our trauma, we start looking at women and start wanting to feel her heart, because that's where her power is, it's where her gifts are for us, and it feeds and nourishes us so we can go out and build and create more. But in order for her to have that, to go into her heart, which I do believe is what all women want really deep down, it's what their nervous systems want, because it's where they're most happy. How can they not be? But we need to provide the structure and the grounding and the safety for that to happen. So when I talk about the man would build the house and the woman would fill it with her love, right? We can apply that to the bedroom. And this is key. So I'm not people will think I'm supporting men, masculine, women, feminine roles. Not at all. If she wants to be the sole breadwinner and have him look after the kids, fine, no problem. I don't care. But when it comes to being in a when it comes to being in the bedroom, you can reverse the roles for sure. But when sex and intimacy is our connection to, it's like a portal to the very high states of consciousness and realizations of God and healing on levels that almost none of us know. And the reason why we're not experiencing these higher states of consciousness and healing in sex is because of all the survival emotions and all the trauma that has been installed into sex. It's begun with the church, with the Catholic Church. They would have known that by coming together as man and woman without trauma, it's so easy to have spiritual realizations, that by installing shame into sex, it's the lowest level of consciousness that's available on this plane. So it brings us from right up here right down into our animal nature, and it prevents us from having these experiences where we realize we're more than just our physical bodies. So sex is literally a portal to these higher states. You don't even need psychedelics. I've learned recently you can have psychedelic experiences when we come out of survival. But if we look at porn, porn instills survival relating in sex that keeps almost everyone in this lower state of consciousness. All of sex is there's no love, there's no unity. It's two bodies coming together and pounding and abusing each other in fight or flight. When we're in fight or flight, we can't experience higher states of consciousness, so we're kept down here. The shame that that religion has installed in sexuality keeps everyone in a lower state of consciousness. But in order to climb up to these higher states, I've learned is that we can bring this man providing the structure like the house, but in an energetic perspective. So if the man can do enough inner work to be embodied and to inhabit not just his body, but the ground around, and can actually hold space for the woman, then we provide that structure on an energetic level. And then that allows her to let go and to feel seen and safe. So she can go into her heart. And then in that, we all get the gifts. We get the gifts of her love. And that's what feeds us and makes us want to go out into the world the next day and build and create. And especially if, as men, we can do that without ejaculating. And then we carry that energy.
Yeah, but how do you think to create when the man is creating that frame of safety? Where do you how do you think about like going if you're going to help a person to like understand what you're talking about and how to like move forward to create that frame of safety? What can you say about, because I have some thoughts, that's not just exactly what happens in the bedroom per se, but it's also like the social contract, the trust between the two partners. Like marriage is like a social contract that creates also a space in the relationship,
Yeah,
and like keeps other people out of that like sacred relationship.
yeah,
So I think like that frame is not just something that happens isolated like in the bedroom, but it's also like economic safety, physical safety,
yeah,
social safety, maybe as because like good sex is like relaxing and opening up. And that's also very like spiritual when you relax and open up your consciousness to
mm,
something that you're something way more than just this person with a name and
mm,
personal number and stuff like that. So I think like that frame is something more than just something isolated that happens like in those inside the bedroom. Do you have
yes.
any thoughts about that?
Yeah, no, I agree. I do agree with you for sure. 100%. And I think, let's say, if the man isn't providing that in other areas, it's going to be very hard for her to let go in sex, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
But the
but yeah.
guys that I work with are mostly men who are struggling to get into relationships or to attract women at all. And so what I'm trying to do is teach men that they can become space holders for women in order to create natural polarity, because it's what tends to feel good for both parties.
Yeah.
We're in different situations because when it comes to long-term relationships, that's not something I've experienced.
Mm.
So I've got my own dysregulation and stuff going on in my own attachment wounds that has stopped me from entering into a long-term relationship.
Mm.
So I sometimes don't feel comfortable speaking too much about it. I feel like you would be more, you're more, qualified to talk about those kind of things.
Yeah. Like my experience at least is that also the woman contributes safety in the relationship.
Mm,
In like you can be like sidekicks in meeting the world.
yes. Yeah.
My woman is she's like very good at reading social situations. So
Mm,
if we're like in some kind of situation, we can like talk about it afterwards, and like her observations are so valuable
sure.
because she can read so much and understand so much, and that's also like some kind of safety, of course, to like how to navigate the social world.
Mm,
So so yeah, I when it comes to safety, I think like my experience at least is that like both parts contribute to the safety of a relationship and the
yeah.
home. But I totally also understand like the concept of like the man creating the perimeter, like the guards, the the yeah, the safety around the home,
Mm,
and the woman like creates the beauty in the home. I totally get that perspective as well,
yeah.
but I don't think it's like black and white either,
No.
because like the man can build like a nice shelf, polish the car, gardening outside, which also is like an expression of beauty, taking care of
Definitely.
something. It's an expression of love. So
So that, just to
yeah,
add,
yeah,
what
yeah,
I'd love to add to that, because yeah, no, I definitely agree with you, and this is the first time I've like really practiced speaking it out, and sometimes I say things that I know are not being received in the way that I hope that they are.
yeah,
I
yeah,
definitely know that most people hearing me will be thinking that I'm like, man does this, woman does this, and
yeah.
I definitely don't. I mean, what you were saying is very interesting. I mean, that's the safety that she's bringing. Interestingly, it's not really about the physical safety. I mean, that's her intuition maybe at play, because she's attuned to her internal reactions to what's going on around her, and then that receives safety for the both. Now, it's interesting because I hear how the woman really is leading the man from her intuition. So the woman, it's a co-creation of man and woman
Mm.
coming together. So it's definitely not just like man provides safety, woman does this. And yeah, it's great that a man could do the gardening or make a room look pretty, all of that.
Yeah,
Brilliant.
yeah.
100% not saying that it shouldn't be like that. But when we expand our awareness and we look at like men and women as a whole throughout Western societies, it's believed 80% of men are naturally more masculine and 8% of women are naturally more feminine. But it seems that we're being we're being taken away from that.
Yeah.
There's like a
Do you think that's intentionally, or do you
yeah.
think that's like you think it's yeah? Say something about that. Do you
Well,
think that's like a way to weaken?
yeah, 100%.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay.
I believe that is what's
Yeah,
happening.
yeah.
So when men were needed for war, we were built to be strong and powerful, and we're not
Mm,
now. And our power, I believe, comes from our embodiment and our grounding.
mm,
Because the more grounded we are, the less reactional we are to the world, the less stress we carry in our nervous system, the more our consciousness expands, the higher up the levels of consciousness we go, which means we become internally powerful. And that means that we're not easily sold to, we're not easily manipulated. We become strong kings.
mm,
That gives us a lot of power. And
mm,
that isn't good for a society that's relying on us being disempowered, because industries are relying on us being disempowered. Politics are relying on us seeing them as the source of our, you know, of everything we need, rather than us being connected to our own power. And then for
mm,
women's, I truly feel so much of their power comes from their emotionality and their ability to love, to
mm,
be unconditionally loving, because it's what nourishes us all. It's such a beautiful quality for a woman to have. I think it's great that women are going out and working and doing that. I'm not saying
mm,
that that's not good, but their love is such a powerful force. I mean, I think a woman's love is so powerful that it's terrifying for most of us men,
mm,
that we've done, when we look at the way women have been treated for thousands of years, so much of it is to take women out of their hearts. I mean, when their connection to spirit was what got them burnt at the stake for so many years. When we look at the damage that's being done towards women from pornography, because men are approaching women in the bedroom and um, engaging with her and handling her in ways that we learn from porn, which is actually traumatizing them on a level I don't think people understand, that's closing them down, shutting them down, and closing off their hearts. A lot of sort of new wave feminine movements, when we look at the feminists as a whole, they're all closed in the heart. They're going into their trauma and trying to control, because the men aren't providing the safety for them to let go and be able to sort of go into their hearts and be more loving. The reason why they're like that is because men have caused so much disharmony in the world and so much unsafety, because of the state of our nervous systems, because of our connections to our mothers when we were little boys. So we're going out and we're burning the world. We're creating a lot of disharmony. Women are being affected by it. I mean,
yeah.
mm,
That's like an interesting question. Like I think like what does it mean, number one, to be just a grown person, a grown human being, to be a grown up, really? And what does it mean to be a grown man? To be like a good man, a kind man, a loving man, a strong man, a wise man,
mm,
all those things. And I think like so many tendencies in people are because people are they are yeah, they are afraid. They are like trying to attach to people, to things outside, like armies, identities, workplaces, because they feel they don't have that feeling inside that they are enough and they are not safe. They
yeah,
are need more money, need more of that,
more
need to be
power.
need to be part of that club. And actually, Eric Fromm, a German writer, I think, wrote about this in the 40s, about like this like deep unsafety in people that lead people to attach to like entities outside themselves, like
Mm,
church, football clubs, military operations.
that's it.
Yeah, like because it's like when you are talking about the grounding, if you find like peace and strength and happiness and wisdom in yourself, you don't need to attach to all kind of things outside yourself.
Mm,
Then you can do it from a place of like, yeah, I think that this is like a wise good thing to do in the world. That's why I work at this place. I do those things.
Yeah.
It doesn't come from a place of lack or fear or need or all those things. So that's what I think, like, we really all need to start with ourselves
Mm.
and how we are in our bodies, in our minds, in our thinking, in our wisdom. And that's like also maybe with like in relationships to women, like, because a woman is of course just another human being that also want to be like autonomous, can earn her own money, want to be safe, want to be happy, want to love her children, her husband, and just maybe like that those are also very like common human needs and like values. But there's like also like differences that might manifest in how we are living. Like the man is keeping the lion outside because he's like weighing 40 kilos or 80 pounds more, and he's doing the heavy lifting and stuff like that. And of course, also the capacity to be like present, to like um, embody feelings without like being like torn, being like thrown off by the feelings, like the capacity to be like mindful, present, stuff like that is, yeah, yeah. I think it's like interesting, like similarities and differences, and these things are like shifting through like historical periods. And we have had like the 50s, 60s man, woman, and we have like this modern woman and man where like the roles are like shifting and mixing together. And we are like now trying to figure out how are we going to do this forward in a good way, where we are not losing the polarities, where we can have like sexual attraction, we can support each other, but also be different. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, man. Yeah, I agree. Yeah, celebrate in our differences. Also, I love what
Yeah,
you're talking about. It's finding inner authority, really.
yeah,
That's what it all comes down to. When we find our own inner authority, we won't search for it outside of ourselves.
yeah.
I mean, all spiritual advancement, enlightenment, whatever you want to call it, is finding within us what we've been searching from the world around us. So someone who's of a high spiritual state of being can go live in the most depressing town in the world and not have that affect his internal world. So he's still at peace and feeling good there than he would be in an area where there's a lot of wealth and everyone's happy. Because at that level, it's like the outside world is not affecting how I feel inside. I don't need anything to be a certain way because I none of us can experience anything outside of us anyway. So when we look at the state of the world, when we look at like how most people are on their phones, overstimulating themselves, killing themselves with bad food, you know, the cortisol and adrenaline we've got coursing through our bodies because we're not sleeping well at night because we're all on our phones scrolling just before going to bed, the drugs, the alcohol, all, you know, the pornography, the dopamine, high stimulation, all of that is just causing havoc within our nervous systems. And because of that, especially as men, we're losing our grounded presence that is going to allow for this natural polarity to form in relationships. It also makes it very hard to love and connect because a dysregulated nervous system can't be connect with other people, which means it can't connect with the kids at home, can't connect
Yeah,
with our
yeah,
women.
yeah, because it's like in fear,
Yeah,
it's like too activated.
yeah.
Yeah,
Connection can't actually happen.
yeah. How do you see, like, in the you live in the UK? How do you think about how the UK society culture now is playing into these things in young men? What's happening in the culture? Like so many things happening, like politically, like the left side and right side, and like there's so much like turmoil, and
Yeah,
people are like trying to find their political identities, and yeah, so many things. How do you think this is like playing out in young men's life? in the UK? What do you see around you?
I mean, I see a lot of them getting sucked into it,
Yeah.
as in I'm a little bit I'm a little bit cut off from it all. So it's hard for me to answer that question, but I I see men are trying, mostly good men trying to do right,
Mm.
but in their attempt to do right, they come out of themselves and then try and package themselves in a way that has other people think that they're good.
Yeah. But I think that's like there is so many things there is not allowed to talk about in society now. Like you can't basically talk about like the Ukraine-Russia war. You can't talk about COVID almost. You can't talk about sexes. You can't talk about genders.
Yeah,
It's like you're getting so like stigmatized and shamed if you
yeah,
talk about topics that would be like 20 years ago, 30 years ago. It would be totally natural to have an
yeah,
open discussion and be
yeah,
like loud and be not agree and like this and
yeah,
stuff like that.
yeah,
And
yeah. That's a
I
good
think
point.
people feel that like workplaces in families that the space for like what you can talk about is so like narrowed in.
I know a woman who works very high up for a big corporation. I won't say what. She was saying how the only group that isn't represented is men,
Mm,
specifically white men. She said, thank God my boys aren't white, because in the workplace there's no representation for them,
mm,
and it must be very hard for them. There's kind of like we're becoming this forgotten. We're not. Men want to feel like we want to feel like we're useful, right?
mm,
We want to feel that we can provide for and be of use.
mm,
It's almost like we're being forgotten.
mm,
It feels like, but we're also, because it was us that caused so many problems in the world, we're being punished for it now and made to feel guilty. So we can't
mm,
speak up. We can't talk about the things that maybe we want to talk about because we're afraid of offending.
mm,
We're afraid of like causing disharmony in other people, which is all just coming from our attachments.
mm. Those people like those young people buy apartments where you live down south in London? Is it like is it normal that people buy or do they rent mostly?
It's mostly
People,
renting because
yeah,
you gotta fork up a lot of money to actually put a deposit down for a property. So
yeah,
you gotta have thousands, which most young people can't afford these days. So no, it's still renting, and the rental costs are very high.
yeah.
So after rent and bills and food, there's very little left to
Yeah, because
save.
that's like society structural issues, how like people can build their own lives and their like own castles, you know.
Mm,
Because if young men can buy their own house, buy their own car, build their own like place, that also creates like a feeling that you create your own space in the world.
yes,
But if you like always renting, always have like part-time contract, you aren't like you don't have any stability.
yes.
No one is really like interested in what you have to say, what you have to offer. And I also think that is because like our societies, like also here in Norway and also in the UK, we have so much like it's so much money, it's so much food, it's like so much of everything
Mm,
that like the masculine qualities that was like very valuable 100 years ago when you needed to like dig a ditch or save a cow or whatever. Those qualities are not that needed in
mm,
2025 because you can buy the food in the store. You can sit in an office and
yeah.
earn hundreds of thousands of pounds. So it's like society has like changed so much what it needs as well.
Mm,
And I think that's also like why a lot of men like inhabit more of those like feminine traits, because
Mm,
you really don't need those masculine traits that much. And I
mm,
also think that to have masculine traits, at least partly, you need to practice masculinity.
mm.
Like do martial arts, be a stand-up guy, lift weights, stand on your own feet, create something, do things that are like need courage. Like
Yeah,
all those things, you like cultivate those qualities in your inside, in yourself.
yeah,
But of course, if you like don't necessarily have work, you don't get work, you can't buy an apartment, you play PlayStation every day, just eat hamburgers.
mm.
That is not cultivating masculine traits either.
No,
And so that's of course that's not attractive for a woman to have a guy that
yeah,
eats hamburgers and plays PlayStation every day.
mm,
So I think men can do very practical things to become more attractive to women,
definitely.
of course. And like when you're saying like grounding stuff like that as well, also you get like reduced anxiety, sleep
Mm,
better, uh, increase the testosterone levels by sleeping better, eating better.
yeah, man.
And like what is more attractive, like the positive strong guy that's like happy with his life, that have like plans, goals,
Mm.
and
Direction,
yeah,
structure.
direction, yeah, stuff like that.
Yeah,
Women love that stuff.
yeah, 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 for sure they do. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, it's
yeah,
what their nervous systems respond to.
yeah.
They could say that they want something else, but it's what makes their hearts open and have them feel love.
Here I'm sitting like a bearded guy and saying what women want.
I know, I get it. Like, gonna piss
Really
people
funny.
off. I mean, a big thing that we're
Uh,
missing is our initiation into manhood, right? So when
yeah,
we
big,
look
yeah.
at like tribal times, the the boys, I mean, all children would be with the women, really, because the women's job was to do the nurturing and the loving for the early years. That's what we needed. And then there came a point where the boy would have to leave the safety of his mum's bosom and the safety of his aunties and sisters
Mm,
and step into the man's world.
yeah.
That was scary and unwanted. And it was a very, very necessary process in order for the village to remain healthy because the men had to risk their lives to provide protection for the village. They had to do that for when they were
Mm,
hunting and then when they were protecting. They
mm,
had to risk their lives. Now, if they didn't have love for the women, then they wouldn't want to probably go and risk their lives. So that connection to the feminine was nurtured in the early years. And then they were sent off on an initiation where they
mm,
had to go into the jungle for 30 days and 30 nights on their own, or put their hand in an ant's nest and deal with the pain of being bitten 1,000 times by ants, or
mm,
whatever the crazy thing that they had to do. But it was always to step into discomfort.
mm,
This idea of going off alone meant that they had to rely on themselves for safety. So no longer did they rely on women for them to feel safe internally. They had to
mm.
provide that for themselves.
Yeah, yeah. Big one. Yeah.
Yeah. And now they head back to the village as a man without needing the women,
Mm,
without needing her approval, without needing to please her, standing on their own 2 feet and not needing to control her either because he's not afraid of her emotions. A lot of this control towards women, especially back in the 50s, I believe, is because men were so afraid of her emotions that they needed the women were being contained because the men just didn't want to deal with the women's emotions because that triggered their own trauma. They didn't realize it, but that's what I believe was going on. So a man who steps out to the world faces danger, faces discomfort, learns that he's the source of his own safety, not the feminine. He
mm,
comes back to the village, stands on his own 2 feet, and that is that creates a magnetism that makes the women want to come up towards him. That's a woman. That's a man that a woman wants to get up against and feel
Yeah.
that power and that strength. And really, it's coming from he doesn't need her. And so now there's this sort of like direction. This is in modern day worlds, it can be like the man has his direction in life. This is where he's going. But if a woman comes along and then takes him off his course, he's chosen her over his mission. And now she loses interest. She doesn't feel his strength so much. But a man who chooses his mission over his woman, that's something that a woman can continuously want to lean up against and feel, because the man's looking for peace, the woman's looking for connection. And that's what allows her to trust us more, I feel. A lot of
Yeah.
that I've just got from reading books, you know.
Yeah, but I think that's a big one. That like rite of passage, the lack of rite of passage. I think that's a big one in modern society, and probably also because we have like cell phones and internet, that like you can be in contact with your parents or mother like all the time, so you don't get that necessary like distance. So I think that is exactly as you say. You like when you are a child, you have safety from your mother and stuff like that, but you need to find your own safety, and that can be terrifying. Terrifying. I actually went through that process with my own mother in my late twenties, where I had to like put up those like necessary boundaries, and I had to like move away like physically. And I actually didn't have contact with her for a very long time, because I had to establish myself as a grown person.
Yeah.
And that was really a game changer, just for me personally, and also in our relationship. Because now like we are two grown people, and before I was like the boy and she was the mother. Of course, like she's always my mother, but like the dynamic of the relationship has changed.
That's it.
Yeah. So, but
Yeah.
that can be like emotionally very, very difficult to do.
For sure.
Because there are so many like psychological mechanisms that keep that thing together, like loyalty, like conscience. You feel maybe sorry for your mother, and maybe sorry for oneself as well. So there are so many like psychological bonds that make that transition difficult. You have to like face those fears and like be in like no man's land, and then reestablish some kind of new like safety as a grown person.
Yeah.
So that's a super interesting thing, and I think so many young men would benefit from somehow going through such kind of process.
Definitely, man. And also, like, when the dad comes and takes the boy away from the mother to send him out into danger, she doesn't, she knows the boy has to go. She knows that he has to go through that, face danger, so the boy can become a man and protect the village. So but she also doesn't want she's going to have to say goodbye to the boy, because he's not going to come back as the boy. He's going to come back as the man. And now it completely shifts the relationship. But she wants the boy because he's sweet and loving and feels amazing. But it's not what's best for him.
No. And I think that's like the archetype mother. The archetype mother always want to be a mother.
Yeah.
It's just like how that works,
Definitely.
really.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
And
Our mums want us to be safe.
Yeah, and of course, back to like the society, like this, like the safe society we live in now. Like some people travel like overseas for war. Maybe some people go out on ships and is away for months. And I think that's like variations of like rites of passage, where you are separated from your immediate family and you have
Yeah.
to like establish yourself somehow. Some people travel to India, Thailand, South America, stay there for months and years and like establish themselves. They have to figure things out for themselves.
Mm.
But like these very safe, like modern Western societies, you don't really have to do that.
Mm.
If you can stay on the boys' room until you're like 50, 60. But
Mm.
it's terrible. It's terrible.
Mm.
And like
Mm.
so many people, I think, become depressed because of that, because they are not evolving in the
Mm.
way they should as people and human and men, and like they don't like get use of their like qualities and strength and stuff like that.
Yeah, man.
So like
Yeah.
to create ways or create it oneself to establish one's own like autonomy as a grown person. I think that's can be very helpful
Mm.
for so many people and
Yeah.
men. Yeah.
Yeah, agree, man. Yeah, just a lot of comfort and safety, really, isn't there?
Yeah. 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 It's very good talking to you, Dan.
Yeah, you too, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've gone beyond the hour mark, haven't we?
How long have you been going?
I th well, it's 20 past 11 now, so I think it's been about an hour and a hour and 10 minutes, probably.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hmm.
So what are you planning ahead? Are you doing any workshops, or how are your weeks and your
Yeah,
summer?
so I've been doing some mostly one-on-one work with guys.
Yeah.
I'm doing workshops in person here in Brighton.
Yeah.
So I'm doing a lot of grounding work and a
Yeah.
lot of embodiment. That sort of seems to be the focus of what I'm doing.
Yeah.
It's like helping guys to get into their bodies, get into their
Yeah.
legs and their feet and connect with the ground and just start being more present.
Yeah.
So it's like showing them that life can just be can be one long workshop. Like there's always a good opportunity to start being more present and start grounding
Yeah.
your energy, right? So
Yeah.
rather than like making grounding be a thing that you do for 10 minutes in the morning, it's like, can you bring it out to every area of life? Like every step that you make can be a connection to the ground, can be like
Yeah.
feeling into the ground around them.
Yeah.
Um, yeah. So it's sort of trying to bring embodied presence really to every area of life.
Yeah.
Because that's where I feel that we can shift from like survival mode to like unity consciousness, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So like, okay, let's take eating for example. We can eat like animals, and that's where
Mm.
a lot of people get caught up. So they're living in survival. When we're living in survival, we're doing things like animals do. So when we're eating, we're not really thinking about our health. Animals don't think about their health. They just like you put food in front of a dog, it'll just go for it and get it down as quickly as it can, right? That's a
Mm.
survival mechanism because it might get taken by another animal. So
Mm.
you just it's eating in that way where we're just mindlessly just putting food inside of us and going for whatever food our urges get us to consume. So if you sat around a table and there's a load of nice food, you're not really listening to people talking, you're just grabbing the food for yourself, right? So that's like
Mm.
survival. People get who eat a lot of fast food and things like that are kind of caught up in that because the food isn't really for human consumption, but they're acting on that animalistic impulse.
Mm.
But then we can almost like bring presence to the act of eating, which is
Mm.
what a lot of spiritual schools promote. And then now we can think about our health, we can think about our future, we can essentially just be more mindful. So the mindfulness, the presence that gets put into eating now becomes more of a spiritual act, because we're going from animal to spiritual consciousness. So we can feel gratitude for the food. We can like bless the animal that died, that's so, to keep us living. These are things that animals can't do, but we can do. And then now we rise up to higher levels of consciousness in the area of food, considering that we eat, most of us eat 3 times a day. Higher, to get to higher levels of consciousness when eating would just bring us to higher levels of consciousness overall. When it comes to sex and intimacy, we're kind of being taught to approach that from survival. So when you look at pornography, it's 99.9% survival. It's domineering, it's fight or flight response, it's like fast paced, just rubbing, and it's very much animalistic. Now that's how we get taught to approach sex, is from a more animalistic standpoint, doggy style, whatever it is most people are doing in sex, animals can do it. So in order to climb up to higher levels of consciousness in sex and intimacy, we need to look at what we can do that animals can't do. Eye contact, feeling gratitude, love, all of these things are what will raise us up to higher levels of consciousness in the act of sex and intimacy. And then it gives us the spiritual realizations that taps us into our creative energies, and then allows us to go out and build and create a better life for ourselves and for our communities as well. That's kind of the message that I'm trying to get across. It's less about man do this, women do that. And I know it's come across a lot in this podcast, but that's okay. I'm just practicing getting these words out. Really, like the experiences I've had, like I've had a certain experiences with women, because I was very caught up in a lot of trauma when it came to women. Like the first time that when I lost my virginity, it was to a woman who like just told everyone that I was a work colleague, and she just had sex with me because I was a virgin. She wanted to take that from me. And then she told everyone at work how bad I was. And then that just caused so much disruption internally that I was terrified of sex. And I was approaching it from this place of like needing approval. And so I was like, the way I would manipulate and control. And it was all done from my head. It was all just me it was performance. Again, that's what porn is. It's performance based, right? And then I had an experience where I stopped the performance and I came into my body and I was just being present with her. And then we had the most insane, beautiful experience that neither of us had experienced before. And that kind of shifted my direction in life. Like just through the act of being in a bedroom with a woman that I'd only met that day. It was like, whoa, we can have this experience with someone that I've only just met. That's nuts. And that was by coming out of all this way that I've been taught through porn, to all the other ways we're being kind of taught. And then now it's like the connection and the feelings of unity that I'm experiencing with women, and being able to provide such safety that they can just let go enough and just start crying and releasing that. It's like, how many couples are having that experience? Like, how many men are approaching women with such reverence and grounding and safety that she can just let go enough to cry and then soften? And because women are being abused by men, porn porn is teaching men to enter women before their bodies are ready. That causes trauma. That, it drives them up, closes them off. women are just being deeply traumatized by men. I don't think people realize to what level we're doing that. So all I'm trying to do is just show that there's another way of being that opens us up to more love and pleasure and happiness. But we have to come out of survival.
Yeah, and I think that the grounding practice that you teach and practice yourself, it because when one gets out of one's head, you can like feel deeper in the body.
Yeah.
And I think like discomfort and trauma in the body, it makes the head go and spin, you know, with thoughts and like you go to the head. So like practicing presence and being able to just notice what's going on in the body,
Mm.
like in the chest, in the stomach, in the legs. And I think that's a very good message that like we are not, at least my experience, we are not trying to do anything about it, but just be with what is
Yeah.
in this moment,
Yeah.
whatever that is. And that being just deepens the connection to the body and
Yeah.
also to other people. It's like deepening our capacity to be authentic and to be with other people.
Mm. 100%.
That
I
I
love
think,
that. Yeah.
yeah, and so that I think grounding practice is like it's also good like in friendships just to be like present with another human being,
Mm.
and of course also in like the sexual act with one's partner to like being deeply more deeply connected with oneself and the other person's needs, what they want, what they don't want.
Mm.
Like it's like it's intuition. It is not like intellectual thinking.
Yeah.
The body knows on a deeper level.
Yeah.
But
Mm.
when you practice, I'm like a bit curious. When you practice grounding, do you? Because I can like also like if I have like stress in the body, I can also be very aware of like maybe discomfort some places and just staying with that discomfort. Is
Mm.
that something you also like experience or notice in your participants that like almost need to like guide people or oneself in like just stay with, for example, the pain, stay with the discomfort,
Yeah.
stay with the tension, stay with whatever it is.
Mm. Yeah. Pretty much that's what it is. It's just being present with ourselves, right? So
Yeah.
a lot of this that we're talking about, a lot of what I'm trying to get across is to teach men how to be present with women.
Yeah.
But in order to be present with someone else, I mean, we've got to learn how to be present with ourselves.
Yeah.
And that means being with whatever's going on in our body, whether
Mm.
it's what we consider good, desirable, or bad or unwanted.
Mm.
Both require our presence. So we can approach our bodies from intention or attention. I learned this
Mm.
from a Qigong teacher. So we're often raised with so many intentions. We're intended to be a certain
Mm.
way. Our parents intended us to fit into society. So every time you might step towards authenticity, we couldn't because there was intentions that were put on us. And now, although we might not live with that, we from our parents, but we've got it in our head. We got
Internalized.
Yeah, internalized intentions, the way we should be, the way men should be, the sort of job I should have, the clothes I should wear, how I interact with people. I mean, this is full of intentions.
Mm.
And not only that, when we go into our body, intentions will start arising because I intend to feel more in a certain area of the body, or I wish this body part wasn't the way it was. It's all intentions. And in the word is in tension. So the
Mm.
intentions are creating tension within us.
Mm.
And it's
Yeah.
the tension that we carry that restricts the flow of energy. It puts us into fight or flight more. It keeps us in a lower state of consciousness.
Mm.
So in order to come out of that, to have a more connected body, to have energy flow, because our bodies are like a hose pipe. Our energy is like the water, and the kinks in the hose pipe prevent the flow of energy. And Taoism would teach that, we need to have a body working as one full unit. So we're feeling our entire body as one. That's what yoga does, Qigong, Tai Chi, right?
Mm.
All those movements, it's like working, having the body work together as one solid sort of flowing motion type thing.
Mm.
So yeah, so going from intention to attention.
Mm.
So can we like be with ourselves and our bodies, putting a hand on ourselves maybe now and again, just bringing attention to how we feel.
Mm.
So when an emotion comes up, instead of intending it to be a different emotion, we give it our attention. And that essentially is love.
Mm. Yeah.
Love is like getting out the way and just, we can look at a puppy and feel love, right? Our heart's open because we don't think, oh, the puppy, I wish the puppy was different. It's like, no, the puppy is perfect. Now I can finally open my heart and feel love. You can look at a tree. No, look at the tree and think, oh, the tree should be bent this way, or I wish the tree was bent the other way. It's like, no, it's the tree. Heart opens easy. And then we turn that on ourselves, and all the intention comes up, and it stops us from being loving towards ourselves. So
Mm.
our attention is like nurturing a garden, so to speak. It's like bringing more life into us by just bringing attention. And that could just be to our emotions, it could be to our sensations, it could be to pain, it could also be just to the way we interact with the world, all of our insecurities, all of the way when I look at my life, I've got a lot of inner turmoil around money. It's just an area that I haven't fixed yet. So I can be walking around feeling very calm in my body and in my nervous system. I can bring that calm embodied presence to sex, for example, which is something I couldn't do. But then when I look at my current financial situation, I feel the stress building up. So it's an area I've not really
Mm.
brought enough healing to.
Mm.
And so my work is okay, can I just be with that? And it's kind of a way of holding me in that.
Mm.
It's there's a little boy in me that's afraid, that's causing dysregulation and disharmony to this area of my life. Now I
Mm.
can just wish that it wasn't that way and say, oh, I should be more like this or I should be more like that. But it's that talking to that's caused this. So my work is to just almost be able to hold myself in that. And I do that just by giving it attention. And in that
Mm.
things can shift and grow.
Yeah. Yeah. Mm.
So
Yeah.
for a man to like,
Mm.
and this is a big coming back to like the man's mother wound, right? When we were younger, if we got unconditional love, then we learned that our presence was deserving of love. So we're
Mm.
like, oh, I don't need to get good grades at school. I don't need to keep my mouth closed in a restaurant or keep my voice down to be deserving of love. I am deserving of love. It's like we're
Mm.
being celebrated for who we're being
Mm.
underneath all the doing. But most of us were raised to get that when we were well behaved, when we got good grades at school, when we did this or that. And so that meant that now we're having to do to be worthy of love.
Mm.
And then when men approach women, that could be just approaching in a bar, it could be on a first date, it could be in a relationship. It's like, how much can a man settle into his body and just connect with her and be present with her and can and look her in the eye and see potentially parts of her that she can't see herself because he's that present. That communication of I see you, I've got you, I'm here for you, I'm with you.
Mm.
That's what is missing. And
Mm.
this is a big part of what I'm trying to communicate. All the doing, all the impressing, the saying the right things, the controlling, the manipulating, even as extreme as rape, it's all coming from men who want to feel connected in their hearts, but they're going about it in in unhealthy ways because they've learned that they can't just sit in it and open their heart. That's what really draws a woman in, is to be able to just look at her and open your heart to her, and then she gets to decide if she wants to come into that or not. That's so easy. It's so simple. You drop all the doing, all the trying. You just settle into your body and be present. That's the simplicity of connection. It's so it's not easy, but it's so fucking simple. And so, you know, the pickup industry, the red pill industry, there's just so many videos out there teaching men how to dress right, do right, say the right things, all of that. All you've got to do is just be present and look a woman in the eyes and just really tune into her. And 10 seconds of that, you'll get to know her more than 10 hours of conversation just by being present. You know, it's such a beautiful thing, and that's what I feel is missing. And when that gets applied to sex and intimacy, that's where these true, like, healing experiences can unfold. I feel, at least what I've sort of noticed, through bringing that presence. So that rather than, like, no, in all of my approach to sex for most of my adult life was coming. I didn't realize I was in fight or flight, and that was up in my head. It was constantly like, shit, I've got to do this to her, I've got to do that. Oh, I'm going to kiss her here. Now I need to go down to this body part. Maybe I've been here too long. Now I need to go down here. Wait a minute, why she's not making any sounds? Am I doing the wrong thing? What can I do to make her? I need her to make sounds so I know I'm doing a good job. Oh shit, I think
Yeah, like follow the manual, right?
yeah.
Yeah.
So it's just like me just going around in my head, just fucking pick list. Oh, can't wait to tell my mates about this. This is great. Like, you know, like this. And she's got her own shit going on. So there's no presence at all. And that's survival. No healing can be experienced in that.
I think yes, just please continue.
Well, yeah, so just what I learned is that sitting across from a woman and being present with her is more pleasurable and more enlivening and better in so many ways than all of the sex. Just to be clothes on, present with a woman, looking in her eyes and have that energy, to be focused on the two. So rather than focused on me, ego, survival, to become focused on the energy that rises between us. That goes from survival to unity, because it's no longer about me, it's about we. And men can approach dating like that. So when a man's in front of a woman on a first date, rather than thinking, does she like me? Am I saying the right things? What can I do to get her to like me? Drop all that shit. Just focus on the energy that comes up between the two of you, and that's what brings up consciousness.
Yeah.
That's all he needs to do. I mean, you know, we've done a lot of talking, and I've had a lot of tension in my body throughout this because I'm trying to get this message across without people thinking a certain way. So I've noticed myself, there's a lot of like doing, and you know, we could just stop that now and just be a bit more present with each other. And I can feel there's a connection that's coming up between us that can be felt more, right? And that just comes from us being present. The words are getting in the way almost.
Yeah, but I think that's like just in the framework of like a recorded podcast conversation. I think it's, as we talked about before the recording, I think it takes a lot of practice to be like without being in the head at all in like
Sure.
in the recorded conversation, because one knows that like maybe hundreds of people will watch it and stuff like that. But it's also like such a good practice of just like talking and being present and like holding the thread in the conversation and like, yeah, so it's but I think it's very, very normal to like being a bit conscious about that, like a recorded conversation. But I think it was very interesting what you said about like the money issue, because that's just an example. Of course, it could be something totally else. Regarding like meeting a woman on a date, like who are one as a man bringing to the table? Is one bringing a man who has like worries about money, or are one bringing oneself that is like, yeah, I'm in this situation right now, but I have this plan, this plan, this plan, and we're all good. Like the actual situation can be exactly the same, but how one looks at it can be like totally different, and a totally different feeling, emotion, vibration. Because like right now I am here, I earn so much, blah 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 blah, but the plan is bang 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 bang, and that's
Yeah.
like a totally different energy than worry, for example. Just like when who are one bringing to the table as a man in this case,
Yeah.
in a meeting, for example, a woman that is looking for safety, and for example, that stuff like that.
Yeah. It's a good point, man. Yeah. Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah.
Yeah, I think like the framing of things is has of course, quite an impact on how we are feeling.
Mm.
So I think like one can frame a situation like not too unrealistically necessary, but one can frame something that like, yeah, we are in the starting something of the building something, and that
Mm.
creates a totally different feeling than if one feels stuck in some place.
Yeah. Definitely. Yeah. 100%. Yeah. There's more. Yeah. It. I guess it's less about where a man is, more about where he's going.
Yeah, for example.
So if
Yeah,
he's got money issues and he's just hanging out in that, it's very different to he's got money issues, but he has a way out. He
yeah,
has a
yeah,
plan.
yeah, totally.
Mm.
How you got to monetize your YouTube channel now, right?
Yeah, it's monetized, but
Yeah.
it's interesting. Like the view counts shot right down recently.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I since talking about connection, it's like cut off the views
Okay.
by a
Maybe it's like
long way.
yeah, it's maybe in the algorithms that like talking about those topics are
Yeah, I was
yeah,
wondering if it's algorithms or just people not guys not wanting to watch it because there are
I don't know.
videos out there that are on similar subjects that are getting many thousands of views.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I just
Yeah.
it's that's my work is to try and figure out what it is I'm putting out that maybe people aren't wanting to consume. Part of me thinks it is the algorithm as well, but I think the algorithm is just feeding off the number of clicks.
Yeah.
If
Yeah.
people are looking at my video and choosing that over the others, it's going to promote my video.
Yeah.
If people aren't, then it's not.
Yeah.
So
But
yeah, I've got some work to do.
yeah. Yeah. Yeah, that's like yeah, creating content that people want to see is like yeah, it's a very interesting topic in oneself, and
Mm,
it's like it's so much like with shorts and making like advertisements and how one presents the thumbnail. It's so many factors, but anyways, congratulations on getting monetized the channel.
thanks, man.
That's really cool.
I appreciate it, mate. Yeah, it's really cool, man. Yeah, it was a great
Yeah.
milestone to hit.
Sorry.
It was a great milestone
Yeah,
to
yeah,
hit.
absolutely.
I
Yeah.
was really pleased with myself. Yeah, it's almost, I'm on almost 2,000 subscribers now, so I'm going to have hit probably about 2.5 subs in a year. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah, very.
Yeah,
Are
blows my
you are you planning any travels to Asia this winter?
mind. My first goal is to go to Canada.
Yeah, you talked about that last
Yeah,
time.
did I?
Yeah,
Yeah, that's
yeah,
still my
yeah,
plan. I want to go to Canada and get a camper van,
yeah,
no mobile phone, just spend a
yeah,
month without any electronics,
yeah,
like an old road map,
yeah.
just see what happens. That's my plan.
That's really cool.
Yeah, man. But yeah, I'm
Yeah,
not sure about Asia. It's very hot. it was almost too hot for me, really. Yeah, we'll see. Maybe South America, something like that.
Yeah. You've seen the movie Into the Wild, probably.
Yeah,
Yeah, with the guy who traveled from America, quit college, and
that's it.
ended
Yeah,
up
I love
in
that
Alaska.
film.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
How about
yeah.
you?
Yeah, me and Irene are traveling to Thailand this winter.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, so
beautiful.
we're going to Koh Samui.
Okay.
Yeah, so we are I think she will stay there for 6 weeks, and I will
Oh
actually
wow.
stay a bit longer. So I will probably stay for like 3 months.
Okay.
So I'm working on the book, as you know. So I will translate the book to English when I'm in Thailand, and also make an audiobook in English.
Oh, brilliant, man.
Yeah,
I look
yeah,
forward to reading or listening to that, man.
yeah. I'm looking forward to hear your what you think.
Definitely. Do you know about Copenhagen?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah,
that's something I'd recommend
yeah,
to visit because it's very close to Samui. It's only like 20 minutes by boat.
yeah. That's where the full moon party is, right?
Yes, but don't be put
Kopangan.
off
Yeah.
by that. That's just a small area. I
Mm,
mean, I would say that you guys would probably prefer Koh Phangan to Koh Samui, but then you
yeah,
could be
yeah,
wrong there.
yeah. I'm actually looking into like this. They have started this digital nomad visum,
Ah,
where you can
yes.
where you can get like a vice visa for 5 years, and I
Mm,
think you can stay there for like 6 months at a time,
that's
or
it.
1 year at a time. So I'm going to apply for that. If not, I probably need like multiple entry visa,
Mm,
where because I think Norwegians get 30 or 60 days on like arrival,
okay.
and then you can renew it for like 30 days. Then I get 90 days, and then I think I have to go like in and out of the country
That's
once
it.
if I have like, multiple entry visa. I think
Yeah.
so. I need to figure that stuff out.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
have you had any vaccines before Thailand?
No.
No, no.
No. I did when I first went when I was in my 20s.
Yeah,
I just went. I
yeah,
don't. I think it's all right.
yeah. I heard about like the typhoid vaccine, but I think the risk is pretty low. I think like in
Yeah.
the in the urban areas, I don't think it's a big issue.
No, I
I,
think maybe in
I,
the border regions, maybe, but I don't really know what I'm talking about actually, so I shouldn't say that. But
yeah,
I don't know. I hear too much shit about vaccines. As soon as someone
yeah,
mentions vaccine now, I'm just like, nah.
yeah, yeah,
My
yeah,
reaction is just no to any
yeah.
vaccine that gets offered to me.
Yeah, there's so much yeah, information in all directions with
Yeah,
especially the mRNA vaccine.
yeah,
So
yeah.
yeah, difficult topic, really.
It
I
is,
think.
man. I feel myself
Uh,
shutting down just talking to you about it. Like,
yeah, yeah,
it's
yeah,
just too. It's
yeah.
like I'm just not gonna
It's
take vaccines for now.
it's so complicated, and it's like like if you aren't the expert in like that kind of medicine, it's like very hard to have an opinion, really,
Yeah,
at all.
yeah. But even the experts are a lot of them are just, you know,
Yeah,
I
yeah,
don't trust most of the experts out there.
yeah, yeah,
The health
yeah.
experts that are contributing to a planet where there's almost no one healthy left. It's
Yeah, right. Yeah, right. Yeah, yeah.
crazy.
Oh,
But there
yeah,
you go. That's the way it is.
yeah.
Yeah.
I think we had a very good conversation today.
Yeah, man. It's been really good.
Yeah, I would love to really. I feel like this is a bit continuation also of the last conversation.
Yeah.
We like go a bit deeper in some topics, and
Yeah.
so I would love to just continue this like almost podcast series, and like go also more into like culture, history, ideological like forces that like shape society, and maybe also talk a little bit about like psychedelic insights and stuff like that. I
Yeah.
think we have a lot more to talk about.
Definitely, man. I'd love that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's a really cool idea.
Yeah,
Yeah, 100%, man.
yeah,
Definitely. I feel better talking about psychedelic journeying now than I did a little while ago. I feel like
yeah,
I've integrated it more,
yeah,
so I feel more grounded about it.
yeah.
Um, yeah, man. I mean, are we, is this off the podcast now? This battle?
We can just wrap it up and continue
Yeah, okay.
the
Yeah.
after chat.
Like, I mean, we
Yeah,
could talk about it anyway. Just
yeah,
like
yeah.
the thing, I met a woman and we came together at the right time of life, and um, we were in the bed together, and like I spent like well over an hour just being present with her heart. It was just literally just putting my focus here, and she was putting it there too. And for over an hour, just pure presence and love for each other. And then she just went into this like big experience where her body like tensed up, her all the skin went clammy and sweaty, and she disappeared. And I was just there holding her, holding space for her. And then she came to,
Mm.
and she was like trying to make sense of what happened, and she had a full-on enlightening experience. She had like a full head to toe bliss orgasm, and she met God, and it was like a
Oh,
full-on psychedelic experience.
huh.
And then she just like turned into this angel. It's amazing. I've never seen anything like it. I was like, think our third eyes had opened together, and it was like we were on ayahuasca,
Mm.
and we were just these gods that had come together. We had just opened up a portal,
Oh,
and then she was the most soft angel I'd ever like. Just being in her energy just fed me this, and I've learned that's her yin essence. When a woman awakens her yin essence, that's what feeds us and her. And in order for women to access her yin essence, we've got to provide that container, and that's what I was doing. I was like containing her in that, and then she went down on me, a feeling of this energy that was that came inside of me and started working around me. And I've been quite traumatized in my pelvis from an operation that I had last year, and it just started working around my pelvis and root chakra area, and I've been 80% healed ever since.
oh, oh,
And then I was just walking around for days after that with constant synchronicities firing off. I had the sense that I'd just been initiated into something far bigger than who I was, and
oh.
yeah, it was fucking wild, man. It was an insane, like life-changing experience for the two of us,
Yeah,
and
sounds really powerful.
it made me realize, like, if I can, me and this woman who'd only known each other for a few weeks can have that experience, right? Imagine how possible. Imagine a community a couple of thousand years ago where men and women weren't, when everyone wasn't focused on surviving and could just come together with that presence without any goal in mind. So there's no sex or orgasm, just
Mm.
pure presence. And you can have an experience like that.
Mm.
It must be very easy for people to realize that they're God, that they're
Mm.
spiritual beings. And
Mm.
then it makes so much sense that religion would come in and install so much shame and fear around sexuality that stops people from being
Mm.
spiritually realized.
Mm. Mm.
And that was kind of what I wanted to get. That was what was like blowing my mind so much. It was like, fuck, yeah, sex and intimacy. It's literally a portal to
Well, that sounds like a very powerful experience.
really, like, yeah.
Yeah.
Just talking about it in is just doesn't do it justice. Like what?
Yeah. Wow. Wow. Yeah. Huh. Yeah, I really think like having spaces for like spiritual experiences, both sexually and like otherwise, to have like this release and bigger perspective. I
Yeah,
think that is something we really benefit, that would benefit the culture, really,
yeah,
really.
100%, man. So it's
Yeah,
so much needed. Yeah, but yeah, let's talk
yeah,
about more of that on our next call then.
yeah, yeah. But thank you for sharing that story. That was
Yeah, man.
very sounds like a very powerful thing to experience.
Yeah, it was, man.
Yeah,
To not to have something like that happen without psychedelics, it was even more life changing than psychedelics. Because there's always, oh, well, I took a drug with psychedelics,
yeah,
even though I knew the experience was real. This was different.
yeah,
This was just no drugs, nothing.
yeah,
Just
yeah,
coming together and unity, oneness.
yeah.
And
That's an example on what's possible just with our bodies and
yeah,
together. What is possible without any substances, without anything
yeah,
like just yeah, yeah,
yeah, man. That's
yeah,
it. And
yeah,
this is what I want to try and teach men is like, yeah, it's just embodied presence.
mm,
I was just looking her in the eye and just breathing down into my body, just bringing consciousness down into my body and feeling the depth of her and the depth of me, and just focusing on that. And that's all I was focused on was the we instead of the me.
yeah,
It was
yeah,
that simple.
yeah. Do you still have these workshops online?
Not so much, but
Yeah,
I
yeah,
wanna find some women that wanna kind of assist men on this, so we can like have like go on a course, like an online course for a couple of months where every week we get together and then they can
yeah,
practice
yeah, yeah,
energy work and space holding, that kind of
yeah.
thing.
I think this is like very good for the culture, evolving the culture with
Yeah,
knowledge, wisdom, practices, skills
yeah,
to have powerful experiences.
definitely, man. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
and then you can just do it in sex. You don't need to worry about taking psychedelics. They can't
yeah.
make that illegal because otherwise we wouldn't. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, I will put the link to your website in the description,
Cool, man.
masculineevolution.com.
Yeah, I don't even know if it's working right now, so let me check that.
Yeah,
It might be
you,
better. I tell you what, if I can give you my link tree,
yeah,
and then that
yeah,
will give people an opportunity to see my email, my website, my YouTube channel, and a couple of others.
yeah. I think I will use that service myself, the link tree. I heard about that,
Yeah,
the
it's a
link
good
tree
one, man.
service. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
Well, thank you very much for this conversation today, Dan.
Thank you, man. I absolutely loved it. I love you,
Yeah,
and
likewise, likewise.
let's do it again soon, man. You're looking very embodied and grounded, man. It's good. Good to
Thank
see.
you. You too.
Yeah.
Bye bye.
All right, bro. Take care, man.